Hello, everyone, and welcome to Celebrating Cinema, a podcast for the love of cinema. I'm your host, Luca Gommans, and I'm here with Lab 111's head of cinema, Tom Ooms.
Howdy.
Last year, we already did an episode about eroticism and sex scenes. Go listen to that because it's really fun. But with a new Luca Guadagnino film playing, we're looking at desire in the broader sense. This week marks the release of Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt, so we're diving into his back catalog, which is absolutely laced with desire. The stolen glances, the touches not touched, the yearning. Today we're going to explore how desire works on screen. Not just lust, but longing, hunger, and that cinematic ache of wanting something you can't have. But first, Tom, what have you been watching?
So yesterday I saw One Battle After Another.
Again,
for another time. Still the best movie of the year, I think.
Absolutely.
But this was my second trip to the film museum, the iFilm Museum, 3 days. I saw Caravaggio by Derek Jarman for the Tilda Swinton exhibition. You went to the opening.
I did.
Damn it. I wasn't there. Damn it.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Tilda Swinton was there. So Tilda Swinton's in Amsterdam because she's doing an exhibition with the Eye about collaborations. It's called Ongoing. And she's been in Amsterdam for quite a bit.
On the ferry, I almost bumped into her,
and also
which was weird.
you told me that you were pissed off because she was getting onto the ferry before people had gotten off. Fully.
Yeah.
So Tilda...
Yeah, no, I was mad until I realized it was Tilda Swinton.
Favoritism, I see. Rules are rules, Tom. But yeah, so she came to the opening, and then she, as a surprise, she brought her good friend, casually, Nick Cave.
Nobody knew he was coming, right? I think
nobody knew who was coming, but I was kind of like standing close to the piano, and then someone came up to me and was like, "You also heard who's coming?" And I was like, "No, I'm just resting. I'm overwhelmed. It's really busy here." And then they were like, "Oh yeah, Nick Cave's coming." I was like, "Ha, of course Nick Cave was coming." And then he was, and he did 3 songs, and it was great. And then we all got drunk and we danced and we saw the exhibition.
Yeah. And now they are screening all these films, and some of them she's almost as a surprise introing herself.
Did she intro Caravaggio yesterday?
Sadly not, but I'm going to see some other Derek Jarmans, which she will be part of. Well, she's part of the films, but she will also be introducing them. And I had never seen Caravaggio before, and I'm somewhat familiar with Derek Jarman's work, but it sort of treads the line between what a film is and what theater is. It's a very austere picture. It feels like every set is the same set, but then slightly flipped. So there is this, if you think if it's leaning into the pretentiousness sometimes a bit too much, it feels like it's almost Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But then I cried at the end. So there's something also incredibly poetic about how he blocks and shows you.
I think that was her first role.
Yeah,
right?
it's her first. It's her first role with also a really young Sean Bean. Spoiler: yes, he dies in this movie.
Sheen Bean.
Sheen Bean.
Yeah, it is quite incredible. Tilda, my friend Tilda,
my boy Tilda. What? My girl Tilda. Well, I mean, that goes to say it.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, she's just this like insanely like calming presence. She's just so like, it's really like, I saw a few of her talks already in introductions, because I think one of the last things I saw, except a Great British Bake Off, is
is she in the Great British Bake Off?
No, just like if I'm looking at what I've been watching, it's mostly Bake Off. Yeah. Tilda should go on Celebrity Bake Off, but it's a documentary she made about John Berger called Season Quincy. And she also did an introduction about that one. John Berger was a really close friend of hers.
Not everybody knows who John Berger is.
Okay, John Berger is a artist in many ways. He's a writer. He's a political writer. He's a poet. He's a painter, illustrator. He does all of the things, and he's a very special man. He sadly passed away, but before he passed away, she started kind of documenting to kind of like keep him a little bit, because he was getting old. And I think especially the first part of the documentary, which is basically 4 short films put together, not all of them made by Tilda, but the first one is just really intimate. It's them. She's making an apple crumble. She's peeling apples in an annoyingly slow way, because I'm all about efficiency. But meanwhile, they have a beautiful conversation about how They were both raised by fathers who were in the military, but then didn't talk about being in the military. So they're raised by this kind of like hunk of trauma looming under the surface. I thought that was really beautiful. But yeah, I'd recommend watching at least that first part of the documentary because it's really nice. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. Also, Bake Off. Few filmmakers working today capture desire as vividly as Luca Guadagnino. Whether it's building tension through glances, silences, and casual touches in Call Me By Your Name, the dangers of jealousy in A Bigger Splash, or the desire for greatness in Challengers, Luca's really making us yearn again. Guadagnino manages to catch desire in a way that feels immersive and all-encompassing. You can almost taste it, hear it, and touch it in his films. The warmth of a peach, a ghost arm reaching out to a forbidden love, or the pumping rhythm of a Trent Reznor banger. But Guadagnino didn't invent this approach. He takes the lessons of filmmakers before him and he gives them a new life, showing that desire is never just about romance. It's about longing, hunger, and the things that make us feel most alive. Okay, Tom, desire. How would you define desire? Like, what is desire? How is it different from eroticism in your perception? I have an answer, but I want to hear your take on it.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you pose a rhetorical question. I mean, desire is broader than only sexual longing, right? So I think that's mainly that's why it works so well for cinema, because it's grasping to something out of reach.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which narratively and creatively and, it could be literally about anything.
Anything.
And I mean, sometimes it is about
tennis.
Tennis posing as desire, as sexual desire.
I'll do the Merriam-Webster. Conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction in its attainment. Okay, that's what desire is according to the dictionary. But yeah, it's the fact that cinema kind of thrives on tension and desire is ongoing and
propulsion, right? So
yes.
you need to go to some place. That's the entire thing that Hitchcock always did with the MacGuffin. You need to have the MacGuffin is the thing that drives a plot in a film. Can be literally anything. So it could be microfilm. It could also be boobs.
It also be boobs.
It could also just be boobs.
So we'll talk about Guadagnino in a little bit, but first, let's talk about some other great examples of desire in cinema. I know that Hitchcock is one of your favorites. Very controversial take. Yeah, broadly considered as one of the best at doing this kind of like tension and desire.
Well, the thing is that thinking about this subject for this podcast, I think maybe all my favorite films are in some way about desire. Hell, my favorite film of all time, Eyes Wide Shut, is almost a philosophical study about what it means to want something, or what it means if somebody else desires something that you cannot fulfill or provide. That entire film is about Nicole Kidman almost in passing mentioning that she once wanted to have sex with somebody, which never actually transpired. And then the jealousy of Tom Cruise trying to sort of live up to the fantasy or desire that she had. And then the film does this thing where I think the entire, this is not my take, this is Slavoj Žižek's take, is the film is, in a sense, a sort of look at or study how female desire can just be this narratively constructed thing in your mind. It doesn't necessarily have to be a practical, the fucking doesn't need to happen.
Right.
Like Zizek would say. Yeah. And then with the lacking thing in male desire is then, now this desire needs to come to fruition literally in real life. She won't be happy
if this doesn't happen.
Exactly. And so what ends the entire adventure of him going to this house with all these elites and and the incredible plastic sex that everybody's having there. I mean, let's be real. Eyes Wide Shut is one of the non-horniest movies ever. That the entire movie is about desire, but it feels like you're watching this sort of cold stage play of bodies that just go like this, and you're like, well, that really? That's sex? Well, okay.
yeah.
Well, no, not for me. So yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Hitchcock. My other favorite film, Vertigo, is also about this sort of chase of looking, glancing at somebody else, and a lot about desire is also about projection and stupid Lacanian thing of thinking, what does somebody else want? What do I want from that person? Does that person want the same thing? I mean, sorry,
Hey.
I'm already on the road of that desire can take so many alleys, right?
Yeah, it really does. I think one of the great examples, of course, is in The Mood for Love, which does so much with silence and just glances and silence and sitting together with this almost like electric tension that is unspoken and I think that's just a really great example. Really restrained. And you can really see that Guadagnino took a lot of inspiration from films like this. I got to do that Laura thing where I mentioned Buffy, because I think for me, the first time really seeing desire on screen and that weird like tension of like, we can't, for you are a vampire and I am the one slayer. I think that was a big one for me, realizing that like...
Wait, is this Angel or is this Longing for Spike?
Angel and Spike.
Okay.
I think those are both like, they probably really shaped my sense of what desire and romance is, leading to a whole string of fucked up relationships after that.
What is it with toxic masculinity and vampires? I mean, Twilight is the same issue. It's like the...
Hold on tight, spider monkey. Anyway, that might not be a classic cinematic example, but I do think for a lot of people in my generation, that was a big one. You know, they really, I think they walk that line really well. It's the ultimate forbidden relationship, where I feel like desire in film is often about forbidden relationships, like in The Mood for Love, where, it's like, or like in Guadagnino's work, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it's like, oh, it's your dad's friend, or it's your husband's best friend who's also your ex, or it's like, I think those types of relationships are really good subjects for films about desire. Are there any other examples that come to mind for you?
I mean, you outside of recording, you mentioned Antonioni, and I think like one of my favorite, way more pretentious ones is I mean, his entire trilogy, L'Avventura, La Notte, and L'Eclisse, are all about desiring potentially somebody who, well, here you go. Like L'Avventura is about two people falling in love, but one is married, and then the woman that the man is married to just disappears, and for the longest amount of time these two people are looking for her, and then at some point they just give up and go like, well, finally we can have sex then, I guess. I think this is exactly how Michelangelo Antonioni wanted me to summarize his 60s existential masterpiece. And then my favorite one is L'Eclisse, where it's two people played by Monica Vitti and Alain Delon sort of darting around each other for the longest amount. I think for the entire film, you get the idea that they long for each other, but they don't necessarily know why. And
they're both incredibly hot, maybe?
And they're also
incredibly
hot. But again, that's also very much a film about desire, sort of restraint to an extent that at the end of the film, these two people don't come together. You see the same place where they meet, and they're not there. The desire is gone, but the world just keeps on running. You see some people walking there, and you see somebody who looks like Monica Vitti, but it's not her. It's sort of desire squandered almost, which is like super 60s. Let's turn this whole shit around. Instead of it's going to be sexy, it's just going to be like these two people, it just didn't work out,
Yeah. One that I really love is Phantom Thread. I think that is also a beautiful movie about the gays and not the gays, the homosexuals, but the gays as in looking.
Not the high-end gays.
It is about fashion, but it's a straight man in fashion, which is rare. But he, luckily, straight men have no business in fashion. Steer clear. I think that relationship between them explores a lot more than desire and longing at desires. It kind of like describes power dynamics and kind of like maybe like a really, really powerful person who's always in charge of every single detail in his life wants to be a big baby. And how can you kind of do that? But the way, like, it's never spoken. They never like clarify really what is happening. She just, spoiler, starts kind of poisoning him and he's like, oh, yay, poison.
Yeah, it's a bizarre film. I think you can look at it from so many directions to if is that yes, that relationship is incredibly toxic because he treats her like this, like we would say in Dutch, a voetveeg, like
She's an object, really.
Yeah.
He's her mannequin.
Yeah, and she's below his stance, and he just wants her there as window dressing. And then when she starts to sort of speak up, that's not what the contract really was. Then she's eating toast too loudly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they find the sort of correct brackets power dynamic in that she poisons him. He then becomes sick. He needs care. Yeah, he suddenly becomes dependent on her. And then she finds a role in sort of fostering him back to health, which makes no sense because she was the fucking reason that he got sick in the first place. And that is then... Because the end of that film, for me, really felt like, oh, this is a beautiful relationship. These people two found...
That's what you got.
Yeah.
Okay.
These two people found each other. They constructed this completely toxic thing.
But it works for them.
It works for them.
Yeah.
And still, child services need to be called or whatever you can, you know, like it's terrible. But there is this,
It's like, oh, they're weird, but that's none of our business.
Exactly.
Maybe desire in a bit more of a quiet form. Lost in Translation is one that is a lot about desire, not necessarily, hopefully, sexually, but more the desire for being noticed, intimacy. She's at this hotel. Her husband's this busy photographer, and he just kind of like leaves her in this hotel to just kind of like, okay, have fun, sweetie. I'm going to do work now. And then she just kind of feels lost. She meets Bill Murray, and they kind of also a kind of like codependency in the sense that like they're both looking for a form of like being seen and recognized for who they are. Do you read that relationship?
That one is really also, I think, a lot about longing for belonging as well. And I think there's a huge bracket of cinema also when it comes, for instance, to maybe more diaspora cinema that's way more about the desire for feeling at home or finding your place, or not feeling at home but then desiring where you would like to fit into a society.
Right.
And in the case of Lost in Translation, I think that Tokyo really helps in the sense that they all don't feel at home there, but they also don't feel at home really anywhere anymore. There's a lot of cinema that's more about you can't really call it displacement, but I think there's a lot of
longing for a place where you feel like at home.
Yeah, for instance, like something like The Farewell, or films where it's more about people like move, or Past Lives, for instance, is very much a movie about desire, but also very much about a film of not belonging in the place where you moved to, and then thinking about, I want to go back to the place that I actually
and the person who I was in the place where
to.
I was born and raised.
Exactly.
Is that a different person from who you are now? I think that is a beautiful example of.
Yeah, I mean, time affects desire a lot.
Yes.
I mean, look at our own lives.
Okay, Tom.
Let's make it incredibly personal.
Let's look at our own lives.
I mean, your own desire changes through time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not making this that personal.
No. No, because I remember watching Past Lives and thinking that her relationship that she now has with her American boyfriend is so amazing because he gives her the space to kind of reconcile with her old life and her past lover, and they like go and have a drink together and to find a love that is so accepting of all your facets and all the past versions of you, the past lives that you led. Yeah. I think is really beautiful. He doesn't really get a lot of character development, but he's just this.
No, but he really is the MVP of that final
Yes.
scene in the sense that when he steps away, it's like, yeah, this is
Go
what
ahead.
I trust you for sort of, that's a chapter in your life that you needed to even become the partner that I have now, partnership that I now have with you, right?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Let's move to Guadagnino for a little bit. What's your take on Guadagnino? Because we just had a little bit of like, basically how this works is I prepare the podcast. Tom comes strolling in with a coffee in his hand. It's like, what are we talking about today? And when I told him it was Guadagnino, I got a big sigh. So let's go.
So, I am not incredibly big on Guadagnino. I think due to my ex-girlfriend, she made me see all his films. Her favorite film was Io sono l'amore, or I Am in Love, with our boy Tilda, and I think I just couldn't get into that film.
Really?
And I'm all for restraint and glances and these lush images.
Erotically eating a shrimp.
Exactly. But there is something in the way that Guadagnino structures his narratives and tells his stories that I just don't like. And it has to do with the fact that I think he is very interested in the moments surrounding conflict, but not the conflict itself.
Yeah.
And what that for some reason does is that he makes stories that then are not necessarily without conflict, but they're at the seams of it.
Right.
And that just annoys the hell out of me. I think it's a very pretentious choice to do that, which is weird for me to think because I like super pretentious shit. Hell, yeah. I thought I cried with Caravaggio. So I mean, and that's a movie that doesn't do conflict a lot. But I don't know. There's something... and what I find really interesting is that I have so many female friends that love Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah.
But then I have a lot of male friends that absolutely despise his movies. And I'm like, so wait, is this... and does this have to do with the way
male
that...
loneliness epidemic?
Are all my friends incels? But I don't know. Is there something that maybe... in what he does that maybe relates more to a female outlook on desire, for
absolutely,
instance?
And I think you just said it while describing Eyes Wide Shut, that I think the female sexuality, like the female desire, is a lot more about all these little things. I recently thought about like, oh, when I have a crush on someone, I don't think about fucking them. I think about like, oh, and then they're gonna spot me across the room, and then I'm gonna like, ooh, it's a lot more about that than it is about boobs,
Yeah.
and I think there's
but
a big...
hold on, let's not
that's all that male sexuality.
Yeah.
No, obviously not, but I do think that a lot of the desire and eroticism for women takes place in those little moments, like, ooh, we accidentally touched hands, or
the Mr. Darcy sense and
oh my god, the
moments.
Mr. Darcy hand is such a good example. Like
Mr. Darcy hands.
Yes, okay, so
the Mr. Darcy hands.
For people who don't live on the internet, in Pride and Prejudice, there's this scene where Mr. Darcy, played by Tom Ooms, he helps her out of a carriage or into a...
Played by Tom Ooms. Sorry, please continue, yeah.
Into like a carriage or something. And then he walks away and he touched her hand, and then he like flexes the hand a little bit because he's like, oh my God, I just touched her hand. And then women go insane over that moment. And do you understand what's erotic about that? It's just like, oh my God, like, I just touched. But yeah, that's such a like viral erotic moment for women. It's romantic. It's Jane Austen. It's this like,
Earlier you mentioned Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah.
Also very much...
about looking.
Glancing, looking.
It's the Titanic thing of draw me like one of your French girls, but then literally,
they're literally French girls.
They are literally being drawn and they're French girls. But yeah, that's another movie of like just being observed. I think I saw one of those stupid tweets. It's like, I think the one thing a lady wants is to be described and seen. It's like, oh, you always love doing this thing. It's like, yeah, that is me. And I think it's a lot about that, and then them kind of like finding their own and this like them as lovers or them as like people who just like looking at each other, or like what that even is about.
I mentioned the difference between male and female desire and how they potentially function in a different way. Do you think that the gaze itself, the male or female gaze when it comes to desire, is also feels different in these films as well? Because Celine Sciamma's gaze in, I mean, Portrait of a Lady on Fire was very much appraised also for the fact that the gaze there is very female. Even though they're all naked, it's not freaking showgirls.
Yeah.
But then how to track it back to Guadagnino? What makes Guadagnino's gaze then so different and attuned to the female desire? What's going on there, Luca?
Hey, Luca, let us in on this. I think he just really understands. Well, first of all, he's a homosexual man. I think that also kind of attunes you more to like that side of sexuality and the looking. Vulnerability. It's never about the sex. It's about the longing. I don't know. I think he just does a really good job at like capturing these like sexy little moments. I think a really nice example is in Io sono amore, when our beautiful Tilda Swinton. Okay, so just a little, if you don't know what the movie is, Tilda Swinton's part of this like aristocratic, like rich, kind of new money family. She is the wife and she's, running the household. And then her son brings in this chef and he's insanely hot, as is Tilda Swinton. But she kind of like falls in love with his food and his way of like connecting with nature. And so there's a scene where she kind of sees him again, and she first sees his food and she just kind of like glances over the food and it kind of feels like she's jizzing in her pants. And then she looks up at the guy and he's like whatever, bruleeing something, and she's just like and it's about this longing, it's about food, it's about these things. Then he kind of takes her to his house. He lives out in nature, and it feels like her living in the center of Milan has put her so far away from nature and the human nature and the female nature. So she kind of gets out of this car and she's in this beautiful nature. You can hear the bugs and the bees and and there's flowers and you can almost smell it. And she immediately like takes off her cardigan and she kind of like opens up herself to this natural environment. She smells the flowers. It's like way more about her connecting with her female nature, with her eroticism in that sense. But it's portrayed in such a beautiful way. It's not like her looking at his abs. It's her looking at him being competent at something. It's her looking at him as a creature of nature. And I think that is really beautiful.
Tracking back to, or sort of maybe connecting it to the previous episode that we made on sex.
Yes.
Because that episode was way more about sex because it came out of Emerald Fennell's
I think
Saltburn.
Yeah, what it came out of is sex scenes and how people respond differently to sex scenes now than they did in the 90s.
Do you think that something like Io sono l'amore, and where it's the maybe the eroticism and the sexual tension finds its way via these more almost like Proustian romantic things, the Darcy hand. I think the Darcy hand should now be a thing. Isn't that way more? Doesn't have way more desire and tension than the fucking stupid fucking a grave scene of Barry Keoghan. And
do not get me started on Emerald Fennell. We'll be here until the crack of dawn.
But I think it's important to mention her because we do have Wuthering Heights coming up.
Yes.
Her new film with
Margot
Robbie
and Jacob Elordi.
Jacob Elordi, with songs by
Charlie
XCX. I fucking love the poster, by the way. It looks like this old sort of 60s, 70s, old school period piece, drama, sex, repressed sex thing. Do we want this sort of ungraspable Proustian reverie sexual tension?
Or do we
desire,
want ripping clothes
or
off
is
and
this
fucking
once
a
again
grave?
going to be the sort of flat? Because I think it's funny that she's a female director, but she's making movies that almost do the showgirly thing, where it becomes so almost flat.
Yeah.
It becomes very exploitative in a way. I'm much more on the romantic, vague, ooh la la.
Yeah, I just think, unfortunately, I don't think she's a very good filmmaker, and I think that's where most of her work falls. It's like, we did this thing where it's like, yeah, we knew the whole time. The whole time we were sitting here, it's like, yeah, he killed the entire family. And she's like, he killed the entire family. It's like, anyway, let's not waste too much time on
Okay.
Emerald. We just mentioned Il Sono l'Amore, which is the first installment in Guadagnino's self-described Desire trilogy, which is together with A Bigger Splash and Call Me By Your Name from 2015 and 2017. I think all three are great. I think A Bigger Splash is awesome. It's loosely based on La Piscine, which again features your beautiful boy, Alain Delon. However,
My beautiful boy Alain
My
Delon
beautiful-
and a beautiful girl Romy Schneider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not this one. This one features Dakota Johnson, Tilda Swinton, and Rafe Fiennes, and that Belgian guy. What's his name? I don't know. They're all beautiful.
Tia Schoenaerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all beautiful.
Best Rafe Fiennes dancing scene in any movie.
It's
there are not a
so
lot
good.
Rafe Fiennes dancing
Hey,
scenes.
there's actually, now that you mention this, there's a lot of dancing scenes, very similar dancing scenes in Luca Guadagnino movies. There's the one in Call Me By Your Name. There's the one in Challengers where like she's on the dance floor and they're like watching her kind of like be free and dance.
Yeah.
And then there's that great dancing scene that Rafe Fiennes does in A Bigger Splash. If you haven't seen it, please seek it out. It is masterful.
Yeah, once again, Bigger Splash didn't work for me, but I'm not for Bigger Splash, I'm unsure if it's the movie itself or it's I hate to say this, or it's Dakota Johnson.
Hey, that's why. See, we're not the same person. We have the same hair. You're not offending.
You are not Dakota Johnson. Are you not a representative of the Dakota
you don't
Johnson
offend
fan
me by
club?
saying this. No, it doesn't offend me when you say that you don't think Dakota Johnson's.
I mean, I always want
Great
movies with her to work, but for some reason, I have the feeling that the movies don't work because of her, not despite her. Okay, sorry. Move on.
She's great in interviews. She's hilarious.
She's really good in interviews.
When she did Ellen, she was like, "You were invited, Ellen." Anyway, people at home know what I'm talking about. Call Me By Your Name. I think that was the big breakout for him.
Mm-hmm.
It was also the big breakout for Timothée Chalamet. And can I just do a little sidebar about how Guadagnino always manages to find just the world's most beautiful people and kind of give them a start to their career? I think Timothée Chalamet is a great example of it. Timothy is now in everything, whether you like it or not. He's the biggest star we have right now. Then I think Josh O'Connor is a good example of kind of like Challengers was his first like big breakout, and then now he's in everything. And he was even kind of an early adopter of Tilda Swinton because they worked on Io sono l'amore for about 10 years before they released it. So they would have started working on that in 1999.
And they made a film before that together called The Protagonist, which
Right.
I've not seen.
My friend Tilda, I went to a Q&A and she was saying how she met Luca Guadagnino at a party and they were kind of like standing in a group together, and Guadagnino approached her and he was like, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but I wrote you a letter ages ago if you wanted to do a voiceover on one of my films," and she never got back to him. And she was like, "Oh no, how did that work out?" I was like, "I didn't make it because you didn't respond." And then she was like, "I fucking love this guy." And that's how they started working together. And obviously now they've done, 3 films together? A Bigger Splash, I Am Love, and then the other one you mentioned.
Suspiria.
Oh, right, Suspiria.
Yeah.
Amazing multi-role for her in Suspiria. Almost forgot. But yeah, he always casts these beautiful people. Also Zendaya, Taylor Russell's one that didn't really have a big career before, but he cast her in Bones and All, and he just has an eye for pretty people. That might also be a factor in the Desire. Did you ever see Bones and All?
No.
Me neither, because I'm freaked out by cannibalism stuff, and it turns me off. And it's very ironic that Guadagnino worked with Armie Hammer and then made a cannibal movie. Isn't that weird? That's a bit weird.
Have you seen Call Me by Your Name recently?
Not super recently.
Because I haven't seen it since the I Am 100% a Cannibal Army Hammer Gate.
Mm-hmm.
No. I always wonder what it
would do.
But yeah, if that changes your outlook on
I don't know.
I
think
film.
He's a very handsome man
He's
in
still
this
a
film.
desirable man.
Yeah, I just think, anyway, that's a different discussion for another day.
So, Laura, you picked for our Celebrating Cinema Film Club in relation to this podcast, the Screen Challengers, and you're going to intro it.
Yes.
Why?
Man, that movie's so horny. That's really it. Anyway, I'll be here all night. Thanks for listening to Celebrating Cinema. I think that movie does tension in a way that is so masterful. It jumps back and forth through time, kind of like a tennis match. It was like 8 years ago, 13 years earlier, 13 years later, da-da-da-da-da. It does that. It's kind of like a tennis match. And I think that the love triangle at the center of it is Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Feist. And the two boys were tennis partners before. Zendaya is the best tennis player. So there's these levels of desire where they want to be good tennis players. Zendaya is the best tennis player. Both boys like the pretty girl, but also both boys are very competitive with each other on the tennis court and in the field of love. And there's just all these layers to what is about love, what is about sex, what is about desire to be the best, what is about, like, there's just so many layers to it. It builds tension and it keeps tension really well, assisted really well by the 9 Inch Nails soundtrack, which is the only thing I wish they'd play at clubs. So like
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They do an amazing job on the soundtrack. Everyone in it is really hot. Have I mentioned everyone in it is really hot? No, I just think that's a really great movie. I remember vividly seeing it for the first time, and it was in one of those big pate rooms where they have like the two-seater kind of seats. And I was just kind of lounging, and there was this other lady a couple rows behind me. She was also lounging. I always go to the movies at 10 a.m. in the morning, so there's no one there. So towards the end of it, we were both physically on the edge of our seats, which is something I don't really do. I'm very good at relaxing, but I was just so roped into this movie, and I think it does pacing well. I think it does tension well. I think it does sexiness well, and internal conflict and all of those things. Did you like Challengers?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a very incredibly entertaining movie. It didn't. I think it's also his most accessible film in a way.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And I think the way that he does Desire is maybe more graspable for general audiences than his other films.
Yeah,
and that kind of helps him. I think that makes the movie run like clockwork a bit more than his other films. And it feels way less pretentious than some things that annoy me in his other films.
I could see that.
And I think the final, the denouement scene, or the real sort of end match, the final
incredibly
point.
done. There's many layers to it, which if you haven't seen it, we won't go into too much detail about what all the things are that are revealed during this final match. But yeah, I think this one is a lot more like explicitly about eroticism. There's, of course, the famous and much memed scene of the two boys kissing and Zendaya going, "Oh yeah," with her face, not in words. But there's this one scene where Josh O'Connor and Zendaya at that time are together. He comes to visit her. They're about to have sex. They're like taking their clothes off. They're making out. They're straddling each other. She always has to be on top. She always kind of flips him over. And then she kind of starts saying these things that make it clear that, hey, is this about tennis? And then he gets pissed off. And then it's about the power struggle where he's like, I don't need you to be my coach. And it just goes very quickly from showing how thin the line is between like sex and ambition and power.
Power, yeah.
And that makes it like very, very evident and clear. And it doesn't do that kind of like esoteric. It's like, oh, did you see the one thing actually meant this and this and this, which I assume is what you might find annoying.
Well,
about
that's maybe a big generalization, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. it has to do more with tension. I think there is tension in this film. There is
Absolutely.
conflict in this film. I think the tennis match is he builds up to that, and then it's a quite literal physical clash that you see in that film that stipulates and then still stands for the release, quite literal release of sexual tension.
Yeah.
And I think he doesn't do that in his other films. I think he just treads around it constantly and completely.
Yeah, I think that's quite beautiful, though. I think the same in Call Me By Your Name. Obviously, the tension is he's in love with this older, or like he's not in love. He feels this lust or admiration or whatever it may be, because it's never clearly described.
Let me be incredibly clear, is that I do not despise Call Me By Your Name. I think, again, with Call Me By Your Name, his way of sort of showing you these moments in between conflict works in Call Me By Your Name, because romance on holiday or on vacation is this sort of ephemeral thing that drifts in and drifts out. The most beautiful thing in Call Me By Your Name is the fact that you constantly hear those Tuscan doors like opening and waving close and shut. Is this sort of vacation itself in Tuscany is an in-between space in life. So I think it works. It's sort of,
and it's like
time and
conflict.
space become this sort of mesh when you're in this never world of young and on vacation.
Yeah. It's kind of like light conflict. Like he's interested in this man. He's maybe discovering his own sexuality, but it's not like, oh, a big problem happens and it has to be solved. It's like he runs into this thing and he has a lovely conversation with his dad. And, I kind of like...
Did Michael Stuhlbarg get an Oscar nomination for that role? I think he should have.
He should have.
Even though it's like a
3-minute
scene.
But it's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, I think that's enough reason to revisit Luca Guadagnino's films. Also, let us know in the comments or anywhere you find us what you think about Guadagnino's work and which film makes you feel the most desire, maybe. Tell us. We love to know. Luca Guadagnino's new film, After the Hunt, is screening now at Lab 111. It stars Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, and my personal favorite, Ayo Edebiri. I can't wait to all see it together. Get your tickets in the show notes. Stay connected with us at Celebrating Cinema and Lab by following at Lab111 on Instagram and Letterboxd. Do you love what we do? Support us by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us climb the ranks of the podcast charts. This was a Lab 111 production, edited and produced by Elliot Bloom with music from Hugo Emertzal and artwork from Studio FFF.